Question and answer tonight. I'll give the standard disclaimer. I give this every time. This is not the answer. The answer that I'm going to give you to your questions is not written in stone somewhere. This is not the gospel. You don't go out and be like, this is the truth, the one and only. This is, in fact, it's not even my truth. I'm going to give you a better one in like 10 years. If you keep coming back, ask me again in 10 years, I'll give you a much better answer. But the question can be anything. Could be about meditation specifically, could be about forgiveness, can be about something. Just don't ask me, like you guys know, don't ask me about the way to throw a front kick. Something that is something internal, something that is going to give us some kind of a deep exploration into what's going on in the human experience. If you are on Zoom and you want to type it to me, you can, or you can just press the button to raise your hand, or you can, and I can ask you for it verbally. What, can you not hear me right now, Tanya? You're making, well, great, you're going to type it to me or something. I get what you're saying, thank you. If you guys are at home, oh, we haven't even started this yet. Well, that'll make a difference. Okay. So you guys that are at home on Instagram, you can type me questions if you have them. We're doing a question and answer tonight. And I'll do my best to be quick and not talk too long because I got a little something going on with my throat. So any questions? Here at home, yes?
But then I find whenever I actually hit someone successfully, I'm always surprised by it and really bad. How do I balance the internal element of that? Because even if I am throwing a strike, I don't want someone to get hurt. Really.
Yeah, I got it. So I'll talk about it specifically with our martial arts practice, but you could definitely take a wider view on this and just be like, there's something that I'm, preparing for, working on, and like sometimes I actually get it, I'm successful at it, and it surprises me, and it throws me off. Maybe the first time that you successfully parallel park, I know you don't have to do that very often with your bike, but something like that, and you're like, wow, I did it. A really great example of this is in meditation. I've told this story a couple of times, but the first time that I meditated at my Sifu's class, I started off sitting pretty comfortable, kind of like Kaya is right now, and then I had like a moment. I was sitting and like I just felt my breath and all the thoughts just kind of melted away, and in that moment I was like right there with the breath, and it was the most peaceful, like perfect moment I have ever experienced in my life. And then as soon as that happened, my brain goes, my ego kicks in, and I'm like, I'm doing it, I'm so good at meditation, I'm Buddha. And it lasted that long. I got like one good breath in that meditation, and then a few minutes later, I was curled up in a ball against the back of the room because I couldn't even sit comfortably for more than a few minutes. So this is kind of what happens sometimes. I sat down thinking like, I'm going to do this, and then I actually did it, and I surprised myself so much that it took me right out of it. That can certainly happen that can happen in the physical expression of our practice. You're sparring with somebody and you're practicing throwing punches to actually be able to hit them, and then you do and you surprise yourself. Or like tonight when you kicked me in the leg, I mean, I was standing right there, so I don't know why you were surprised that you kicked me. But it threw her completely off. She's like apologizing profusely. It's like I put my leg there for you to kick me. It's kind of almost a question of like, yeah, the surprise of it, throwing us off, taking us out of the moment, being able to deal with the surprise and then let it go completely. And I think that the practice of meditation can help a little bit with that because we're very aware of our thoughts, and surprise is just a thought that we didn't expect to happen. And so we can practice letting go of that. In meditation, what we do is we try to recognize a thought and then let it go and come immediately back to the breath, right? And the more surprising or engaging the thought is, the harder it is to let go of, right? We kind of get stuck and we're on this train going down this direction. But we try to recognize it, let it go, come back to the breath. There are lots of styles of meditation, but generally speaking, they're using something as an anchor, the breath, a visualization, something like that. And so in our physical practice, let's say that you're sparring with somebody or you're grappling with Sam and you get stuck on something and you're like, I gotta get this, or he keeps getting me with that, or whatever it is, you want to let go of it. You surprise yourself with something and then you just let go of it immediately. Everyone thinks that the goal, like when you're sparring with somebody, is to hit them, and then you should feel good about that. But as you are experiencing, sometimes you don't feel good about hitting somebody, and that might be a surprising thought, or you've had it many times, and you know that that's what's going to happen when you do hit them. But either way, the goal is not actually to hit somebody. The goal is also not to not get hit, as much as that would also be really nice. It really is to just be in the presence. So sparring is a physical manifestation of meditation. Our practice is a moving meditation. So when you find that something like that happens in the moment, try to let it go in the moment. When it's something that you're repeatedly kind of attached to, you just repeatedly practice letting go of it. That's a wonderful opportunity. Is you have something that you kind of know happens on a regular basis, then that's a great thing to practice letting go of. I asked the kids, this kid is probably 7 or 8 years old, 7, let's say. And I asked him, what's the point of meditation? What are we trying to do? Because while we were meditating, he's like snapping his fingers like this. I open my eyes and I go, shh, and then he sits still like that. And then we open our eyes, all of us, and I ask the kids, I'm like, when we're trying to meditate, what are we trying to do? And he says, get rid of all your bad thoughts. And I'm like, yeah, kind of, but you're also trying to let go of all of your thoughts, and anything that we get stuck on is not ideal. Good, bad, whatever. Other question? Sam?
I guess kind of building on what you asked the kids, like, what is the point of meditation? I feel like, for me, I allow the ego to come in, and it's like, is there an end destination for meditation? Are we trying to get to a point where we reach full alignment, or we can meditate for hours a day? So it's just, I guess, I'm trying to understand how we talk ourselves to, like, why we meditate, why we should focus on it, right?
Sam, I only got 20 minutes left. What do you want me to do with this? I could talk about that for 5 days. So why do we meditate? This is a great question that I don't talk about nearly enough, because I have a tendency to assume that we all agree that meditation is the right thing to do, and we just do it. And we do want to get to that point where you don't wake up today and think, am I going to meditate today or am I not going to meditate? You just do it, right? It's kind of like you don't wake up, and most people, unless you're a bank robber, you don't ask yourself, I'm going to rob a bank today or not. You just don't rob a bank. You just kind of know what's going to happen. So we want meditation to get in the same realm for us as like brushing your teeth. I'm going to assume that you brush your teeth every day. Otherwise, I would have noticed by now. So you meditate. Like we brush our teeth every day because we don't want our teeth to rot and our teeth to fall out, but your brain is at least as important as your teeth. You don't want your brain to rot or fall out, so you meditate. Now, that's the way that I think of it, but we're not all on the same page. So why meditate? There are different stages of meditation practice. There could be different stages just within a single meditation as well. But let's look at it kind of over the first couple of months at least, and then kind of into the years of practice. So your first couple of meditations might be like the one that I described. Maybe you'll have a nice moment. Maybe you won't have any good moments. You're just sitting there and it just feels like a chore. We're trying to get to the point where you are able to let go for even a moment of your thoughts. And a good analogy that you want to keep in mind is your brain is like a TV. And if you don't have the ability to control the TV and it's just always on and it's always super loud, it's distracting, it's hard to get stuff done in life. You got to be able to change the volume, change the channel, and most importantly, turn it off. So meditation is the ability to turn off the TV in your brain. You're not really turning off your brain completely, but you're kind of able to turn off or let go of that constant noise, the chatter, the the dialogue or the monologue that's always running in your head. And when you experience that peacefulness, you get to that clearing in your mind and you experience it even for a moment, I'm not going to say it's addictive, but it's like, it feels like the thing to do. It's like, I should definitely be doing this more because it's so nice to have that moment of peace. So one of the first things that you'll get is just by sitting still, you'll get more calm. Even if you're not getting a long period of peace in your mind, you're getting kind of snippets of quiet. And that's different from being in a quiet place and still having a busy mind, which is most of us. You can be in a busy place but have a quiet mind. So some quiet, some calm, and then kind of deeper than that will be like a lasting peace. Maybe I meditate in the morning, as you should do, and then kind of you're peaceful for more of the day. You can kind of make it last outside of your meditation. And that depends a little bit on the quality of your meditation, how long you did it for, how like quiet you got in that moment. But I really love to meditate early in the day and or do something like Tai Chi, breathing exercise, something where you're really connecting to the breath and the body, because that sets the tone in a really powerful way for the rest of the day. Rather than what we normally do, you wake up to an alarm or something, and then your day is just filled with noise, and it's just like run, and you're just trying to like fight off the demons. So try to get that peace first and foremost. And then we got something, right? We have like more peace throughout the day, more quiet. And then what will happen is, the longer that we meditate for, and I don't mean just like in that moment, but like through the days, weeks, months, and years, the longer we practice, the better we'll get at the meditation itself. And then you will start to recognize, like, I'm more able to recognize the thoughts that are happening throughout the day when I'm not meditating. I'm recognizing the thoughts that kind of pop up, and the things that I'm attached to, and the things that keep kind of annoying me or creating this noise that's hard for me to let go of. That can be really useful. To know your own thoughts is huge. Your brain is almost like, if you open up your bank statement online and you see all the stuff that you're spending your money on. I used to be afraid to look at this because I'm like, I know I don't have any money, so I don't need to see where it's going. But you look at this thing and you're like, oh, this is obviously what's important to me, because this is all the stuff that I'm spending money on. Well, your brain is kind of the same way. Like, all these thoughts that you're having are oftentimes not going to be actually what is important to you or what you want to be important to you, in the same way that if you look at your bank account, you're like, I just don't actually need TV that much that I'm spending money on Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix, all the stuff that you're spending money on. So you can see, like, oh, my brain, am I really thinking about this? Am I thinking about this the way that this person looked at me a year ago? I'm still thinking about this now. It just shouldn't be important to me. So we start to recognize stuff like that and let go of it. That would be really nice if these inane thoughts that we had kind of running on loop, we were just able to let go of them. And then, of course, there is this idea of enlightenment. And I used to think of enlightenment in a certain way, and many, many people in the world think of it in this way, where it is a destination, and it's a point that we are not at yet, and we're kind of running or crawling towards it, and maybe we'll get there someday, or maybe we won't. If you think of the number of people in the world that meditate, and then the number of people that have allegedly reached that level of enlightenment, we're talking about the Buddhas, not a lot. It's like your chances are not great. And if you think of it as, I've got to be Buddha or it was all a waste, then you're not going to enjoy your meditation very much, because you're always looking at it like, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Now, you could have a slight mindset shift with that and think of it like, I can always be more enlightened, which I think is true. I don't know how old Buddha was when he died, but he probably could have got even better if he kept living for longer. So I think instead it's helpful to think of it like we are already enlightened, right? We, go through our days thinking like, this is me. I'm this reflection in the mirror. I'm these thoughts that I have. I'm this body, like this is me, right? But if you think of it, and this could obviously have something to do with your faith, your belief, your religion. You can think of it like you are a soul that has a body, or you are Buddha nature or Atman. You can think of it like whatever, you're a spark of the divine. Or you can be super scientific about it and just be like, I am energy, and even after I die, this energy is going to go somewhere. So there's some part of you that is more than what you are, right? More than what we perceive kind of on a day-to-day basis. So what we're trying to do with this enlightenment is kind of get more in touch with that. And certainly it seems like there's a certain point that you can get to where it's got some real staying power. It's kind of semi-permanent. It's like I meditated long enough, or I had enough of a strong experience or repetition of experience to the point where it's like there's no going back. I just don't have the same kind of dumb thoughts that I used to have all the time. I don't allow myself to get pulled into the same kind of arguments or stresses that used to just be right there. And some of that is just getting older, and you stop caring about dumb stuff that you used to care about all the time. But you also know people who are old who still suck. They're old and cranky. So it's not a guarantee that you can get old and that just is going to do it for you. I also like to think of it like enlightenment and death are related, if not the same. Almost like when you die, you're going to shed all of this anyways. So it's like, I'm not trying to die anytime soon, but I also like to think of it where if I don't make it to enlightenment and I'm not like permanently perfect, Buddha nature all day long, I'm just having thoughts of divine nature or no thoughts at all. Let's pretend that I don't get there in this life. Well, at least when I shed this earthly coil, I'll just be absorbed back into the universe, or I'll go to heaven, or you think you're going to go to hell. Okay, either way, you're done with this. So that can kind of be your way of letting go of this thought where it's like, I got to get enlightened now, or it's a thing that I'm always going towards. Now, we are always going towards death. So make the most of this moment. That's enlightenment. You can think of enlightenment as that like big, lasting thing, or you can think of enlightenment as happening in this moment. So there's, I'm going to try to get this right because I always flip them. Samadhi is like a lasting enlightenment, and satori is like a moment. It's like a flash of enlightenment. It's almost like somebody hits you instead of you hitting them, and you go, oh, I get it, right? I think I'm done answering your question, but why meditate? Calm, lasting peace, introspection, ability to recognize our thoughts, choose our mental and emotional states. Enlightenment, without being tied to it having to be like a someday I'm perfect kind of thing. It's like I meditate today, I'm a little bit more enlightened than I was yesterday. A day that goes by without meditation is a wasted day. You are no more enlightened than you were yesterday. Think of it that way. Tanya. What? Oh, you typed it. Great. I'm going to come over here and read it to you. You're so good at pantomiming typing. Okay, on making huge decisions when your intuition and head tell you to act now, all capitalized. But when you move to act, both shout, whoa. Okay, so your intuition in your head, your feeling in your head say act now, but then they also both go, whoa. So you're going back and forth, kind of fighting between do I act now or do I need to kind of wait? Making decisions that are right for now, even when you know it's certainly not what's right forever. Being okay with that, not afraid of it. Okay, I'll do my best, Tanya. So I hope you guys at home heard me. Uh, yeah, this is part of what we get out of meditating is to kind of get in touch with our intuition and like recognize what is intuition and what is ego or like this kind of logical center, this cerebral way that we have a tendency to go through life. Now, your brain is always going to kind of be fighting between these things, and there are certainly times where you can really set aside the time and be cerebral about it, and most of the time you can't actually do that, right? You're driving or you're walking or riding your bike here and a car pulls out in front of you. You can't start doing math in your head and being like, well, if I slow down at 2 degrees per 2 miles an hour per foot, I'll make, like you're already ran into that car or the car ran into you. So there are things that happen where you have to instinctively act, and you want to allow that to happen. If you are too much in your brain, you're being too cerebral, you can actually be distracted from the ability to feel your intuition and kind of know what's right. And I think that we are all generally off balance in one direction or the other, where you kind of know I spend too much time up here, or I don't spend enough time up here and I'm just feeling everything through life and I'm just like, go with the wind, wherever it blows me, I go. You want to recognize which direction you're off balance in and try to seek more balance. I don't think it's right for anybody to be all cerebral, although of course if you're like a scientist or a math teacher, you have to spend a little bit more time up here. Or if you are, something, you're an artist or something that really requires you to be more in touch with your intuition, and you should spend more time doing that. But recognize that for your situation in life and for this moment, where am I? Am I off balance in one direction or the other? Now, look, if both your head and your intuition are telling you, stop, don't do this, then you should listen, because almost certainly one or both of them is right. So your question, if you keep going back and forth between like, should I do this thing now or should I wait a little bit? I mean, my Sifu likes to say, if you wait too long to decide what you're going to do with your life, you're going to wake up one day and realize that you've done it. Your life is done and you have done the thing that you're going to do with your life. So don't wait too long. I wrote about this, I think, in the last newsletter. Any decision should be made within the span of 7 breaths. Now, this is after you've gathered the information. So you're not necessarily like, making the decision on, do I buy this house or do I buy a yacht? None of us are making decisions like that, but you get the idea. It's something that should take a lot of research. You do the research first, and then if you keep just going back and forth between these two things, then you just make your decision within the span of 7 breaths. You don't want to just spend months or years kind of back and forth in your brain like that. Just allow it to happen. And look, we're gonna make decisions that absolutely time will show us were the wrong decision, and that's what life is. Like, this is like school. It's fun to mess up and learn from it. The real issue is if you're playing such a small game that there's no stakes and nothing bad can happen to you because you're not kind of putting yourself out there. So try it. It doesn't mean that it has to happen now. Could happen, could make the decision in 7 breaths or whatever. But generally speaking, you kind of know that this is something, I either have to do this or something like it at some point. You may as well do it now and move on, learn from it, and enjoy it. That's my answer for you tonight, Tanya. Do you have something from you? What is it, Deborah?
Okay. When you said that when you first started meditating and you attained this sense of peace or euphoria, you said, I'm Buddha. My first question is, is Buddha synonymous with enlightenment? And why I'm asking this is because I'm reading Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, and here there's a part where it says a Zen master would, okay, when you try to attain something, your mind starts to wander about somewhere else. When you do not try to attain anything, you have your own body and mind right here. A Zen master would say, kill the Buddha. Kill the Buddha if the Buddha exists somewhere else. What is the Buddha?
All right. This will be my last question. So, and I might have to have you remind me of some of that. So first of all, I love that you're reading this book. If you haven't read Zen My Beginner's Mind, you should read it. It's in the lobby. It's a great one. Uh, so yeah, I was being a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but when I had that experience of like that it was kind of like a satori, the flash of enlightenment, where I had that moment where it was clear, and then I took it to the nth level, and I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but really in my mind, I really thought like, I'm so good. This is my first time meditating, and I actually let go of my thoughts. And it happened for a split second, but I still thought like, I'm all that and a bag of chips. So when I said I thought that I was Buddha, Buddha is the most famous enlightened person. Um, he's the guy that came up with Buddhism, which is all about becoming enlightened. and you're right, a Zen master would say, if you find the Buddha on the street, kill him. And there are a couple of different interpretations of this. I like the one that you're bringing up, though, which is like you're searching for Buddha outside of yourself. You're searching for enlightenment outside of yourself. It's kind of like what I was talking about with Sam's questions. Like I'm always going, like searching, like it's a thing that's going to happen someday. It's a thing that's going to happen outside me. Versus recognizing that Buddha is already kind of within us. Buddha nature or that enlightenment is just kind of a thing for us to realize. And on some level, meditation is like when you take a block of marble. Let's say that Michelangelo is sculpting David, and he didn't take a marble the size of a leg and stick it here, and then find another marble the size of a torso and stick it up. You take a whole block of marble and you start chiseling away. And you get rid of all the extra stuff, and then you end up with this, as close to perfect being as we're going to get. And this is what meditation is we recognize what is extra, and we let go of it. And it is probably not a one-shot deal. It's probably a very long undertaking, longer than carving David, almost for sure. But it also could happen like that. If you allow it to. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay. Just come back the next day and try again. I heard somebody describe it as letting go of the habit of ego identification. Now, a habit, ego identification is something that I don't believe that we're born with, but we certainly get it super early on, where we differentiate ourselves from others, and we see like, this is me and that's you, and I'm like this and you're like that, and all that is a habit that we get super early and reinforce it every single day for many, many years, if not our entire lives. So how to break that, it can be from a super strong experience in the moment. Some people describe like doing psychedelics and like they have enough of an experience that they just like let go of it. But with meditation, you could have an experience like that. Some people experience kind of similar things, but it is most likely like the work to let go of a habit. Tough to just quit the ego cold turkey, right? It's not the same as just like I throw away my cigarettes and I never pick up another one again, because your ego, you can't just throw it away that easily. It kind of keeps coming back. So the point being here, the Buddha on the street, Don't think of that. You're not searching outside of yourself. You're not on some long journey outside of yourself. You're more like clearing off what's extra within you. And this is, again, if you're, let's say that you're meditating for the first time, you're just a block of marble. You're not even a nice square. I always think of like a perfect square block of marble. You're like a chunk. It's like ugly and there's all kinds of extra stuff there. And then the first time you meditate, you chip like this much off. You chip off like the tiniest chip possible and you go, oh, that was so hard, I'm done. And then some people quit and they never meditate again. And those people would also not be sculpting David. And then some people keep coming back and they chip a little bit more, and they chip off all the big pieces. And they're like, this kind of looks like a person. I'm starting to see a thing here. And they get out the smaller tools and they're chipping off smaller and smaller pieces. And they get out the brush and they're like, I assume there's brushing going on. I'm thinking of excavating a dinosaur, but it's the same kind of thing, right? You start big and you get smaller and smaller. It's a big thing, and eventually you find what's hidden within. But you're kind of finding, you're like seeing it a little bit more clearer every single time. That's my answer to your question tonight. So sit comfortably. We got some new faces tonight. I'll go over some ideas for how to sit, what kind of posture. So I like to sit on my knees because my hips are not super flexible. Knees is fine. Cross-legged is totally fine. If you do want to try sitting on your knees, you can also flip the zafu, that thing, over sideways and kind of sit it up underneath you. It's a little bit easier. But what is important is that your knees are not sticking up too high. This is like right on the edge there. Because if your knees are sticking up real high, then they're going to start to fall asleep and they're going to start to hurt during meditation. So try not to move, but if you have to move during meditation, just kind of do it quietly and quickly. So your hands are upturned at the point between your hips, at your hips. They can be together or separate. You just don't want to slide down like this and slouch. You're going to roll your shoulders back and relax. Your chin is parallel to the ground. And you're going to close your eyes. Same, you can turn off the lights. Just leave the top one up just a little bit. And if you're going to close your eyes, it's a good idea to raise your eyes up slightly, and that helps you not to fall asleep during meditation. This is associated with a raised consciousness. And from here, you're going to relax, watch the breath, let go of all thoughts, worries, and cares. Be here now. We'll do a couple of deep breaths together. Start with all the breath out. Breathe in through the nose. Hold for a few seconds at the top and out. Make sure you're breathing in from the belly. Hold and out. In. Hold. Out. In. Hold. Out. One more. In. Hold. Finish with a double exhalation. Now just let the breath come in and let the breath go out. So you're not doing a breathing exercise anymore. You're not trying to manipulate the breath. And there's nothing really that you are trying to achieve. You are just sitting and breathing. As soon as you recognize a thought, let it go. You recognize the ego trying to take over, trying to tell you that you're doing it wrong, trying to fix you. Just realize that's your ego messing with you. You can just let that go. Any kind of thought, if it's recurring, you're having a difficult time, you feel yourself fighting against it, you can just label it as thought. It's not good or bad, it's just thought. You can let it go and return back to the breath. Do that as many times as you can. over the next few minutes.